It's time for car stealing to enter a new dimension, specifically the third one. Welcome to the 5th game ranking for Koobert Opens Worlds. In this series, I take a deep dive into an open world drivey shooty game, like a Red Faction, or a Sleepy Dogs, or maybe even a Mafia. Then I grade it on graphics, story, open world, on-foot feel, and driving feel, and using my patented mathematical process, crunch the results, then ranking it against every other open world game I've reviewed. Check out the chapter markers if you want to skip ahead, but beware, there will be tangents. This time on Koobert Opens Worlds, we're going to rank the big granddaddy of the genre. Yep, it's finally time for me to drink from the Rockstar Trough, and see if the original team did it the best. I'm going to look at the prehistory of Grand Theft Auto 3, what the game's all about, why it was so good, what wasn't great about it, how it looks, how it holds up, the definitive edition, and where Liberty City goes in the future. For this review, I have finished the story missions on Xbox, and have played through the end of Act 1, basically reaching Staunton Island, on PS2, PC, and the definitive edition on Series X. I'm also working my way through the Switch version of the definitive edition, but that will be in a separate review. As you can see here, I do have a completed save of GTA 3 on PS2, but you'll note that as of July 2024, the save is 22 years old. It can legally drink in the United States. Footage will be primarily taken from the Xbox version of the game, but whenever I switch it up, I'll put a little note in the lower third. Grand Theft Auto 3 wasn't supposed to mark a turning point in the games industry. The first 2 GTA games were top-down mission-based shooters with a hefty dose of "you can't do that" gaming to it too. These were games where finally, as so many people had joked about in the 1980s and 1990s, you get points for running over Hare Krishnas and old ladies. While it's not Postal, and I do feel the original games were a bit more sophisticated and better made than that, there certainly was a large amount of "can you believe what you can do in this game?" for the first 2 GTAs. One clear indication of the superior quality of Grand Theft Auto 1 to Postal is that Uwe Boll has yet to make a GTA movie.
Should have sent a couple cruise missiles down there. I just wish I knew how to quit you.
Postal. Heck, even my own experience with the GTA series prior to 3 consisted of spending a few hours with the demo on a shared college computer at the student newspaper, enjoying its goofy, gleeful violence and never once engaging with the missions it was designed for. This isn't an unusual experience for the GTA games, really. Many folks played long enough to maybe unlock Manhattan and then goof around trying to cause as much chaos as possible, or using cheat codes to summon all weapons and tanks. GTA 1 really does have so much of what made Grand Theft Auto 3 great, but from a top-down perspective. It follows the British style of loving to use teeny tiny characters in their biggest games, like Sensible Soccer or Lemmings. You wouldn't be that far off thinking of this as a top-down Lemmings crime game, really, down to the sped-up voices it uses for the mission briefings. Once you get used to the tank controls, especially the jumping, it does actually play well. This original GTA has a bit of an arcade aesthetic and feel, including, as I said before, getting bonuses for running down a whole line of Hare Krishnas. Tangent time. You might be asking, what are Hare Krishnas? They were all over 80s media. Hare Krishnas was a Bengalese Hindu movement that achieved worldwide membership as part of the counter-cultural, anti-war, and consumerist movements of the 1960s. Members could be seen in cities, airports, and other popular areas in trademark robes and top knots chanting Hare Krishna throughout the 70s and 80s, before facing a massive downturn in the 1990s due to pretty horrifying revelations about its treatments of members. Anyway, here's Airplane.
Hello, we'd like you to have this flower from the Church of Religious Consciousness. Would you like to make a donation?
No thanks, we gave it the office.
Going back now, what's funny is just how tame it feels for a shocking game that generated Manhunt 2 levels of controversy for its time. Has a sense of style, including selectable radio stations, something that had only been seen in a few games including Rad Racer, Outrun, and Test Drive 3 before. The missions are exactly what you expect out of a later Grand Theft Auto game. Steal this car, kill this dude, blow up this train, all from this adorable perspective. You might be surprised to learn that this game offers a choice of cities as you make your way through it, starting with Liberty City, then San Andreas, then finally Vice City. Sounds familiar. It does feel much more designed for one-off playthroughs, as you can't save at all mid-campaign for each city. However, the missions are quick and easily replayable. You're really score chasing and trying to unlock the next town. If you do want to try this now, the PS1 version is easy to find but zooms in and out so frantically that it genuinely gives me motion sickness. The original game on PC is not available through Rockstar's launcher or any retro service like GOG, but if you do manage to find it, getting it to run on PC is actually not that bad. Just check out the PC Gaming Wiki for links to GTA R2P. So who made this game? Originally tagged as a release by DMA Designs, but quickly rebranded as Rockstar North, part of Take-Two's Rockstar label. But DMA Designs had over a decade of work before that. Founded by David Jones, Mike Daly, and Steve Hammond, no Housers yet, in Dundee, DMA Designs were surprisingly entwined in the 1980s and 1990s bedroom coder scene of English development, once again meaning they'd been forced to withstand the ZX Spectrum.
You see this? Put your right hand in the box.
What's in the box?
Pain.
The name DMA has a few legends regarding its origin. On Mike Daly's 2000s blog, Java Lemmings, he says it could both mean direct memory access, or, as he loved to tell journalists, doesn't mean anything. Now, they'd had a massive hit on their hands before, that being Lemmings, the adorable little strategy puzzle game where you have to guide lemmings with notoriously poor survival instincts to the exit of a level using a variety of skills and tactics. Even this was handled with some dark, destructive glee. Not only as you could watch your lemmings die in all manner of ways, but also listen to their plaintive wails as you ordered them to explode. Tween Koobert loved this, but please note, Tween Koobert was a monster. They even ported Shadow of the Beast, notably created by Driver Team Reflections Interactive, to the TurboGrafx during these early days. According to Now Gaming's history of DMA Designs, the company ended up working closely with Nintendo of all people, releasing the Nintendo-branded impressive Uni Racers, or Uni Rally in Europe, for the Super Nintendo in 1994.
On the Threshers Roundtable, our panel of daredevils discusses Uni Racers, only for Super NES.
It's like single wheel boarding. Down the track, double roll, flying.
How did you find the two-player action?
Man, I was calling, gaining on the brawl, hit the ice, smack, flip city. Ace of the dude's time. Blue action, triple flip, bacon in the pan.
Well, it appears then to be totally slamming. Next week, doing triple flips without tossing your crumpets. Good night.
And for the N64, we're developing Body Harvest. Nintendo balked enough at the content of Body Harvest, particularly its violence, to decline to release it under their brand. Just a quick look at the footage here shows Grand Theft Auto clearly has some Body Harvest ancestry, as both are open-world drivey shooty games, but in this one, the bad guys are aliens. GTA 1, according to Now Gaming, quote, proved to be a huge success thanks to the adult nature of the gameplay. Assassinations, beating up Hare Krishnas, and carjacking were all par for the course, and howls of protest were heard from newspapers like the Daily Mail who were incensed with GTA's content, despite the fact that it carried an 18 certificate. Courting this kind of scandal would become a never-ending pastime for the series. GTA 1, released in 1997, was a big enough hit to get DMA Designs purchased by the legendary British design house Gremlin Interactive that year, who then in 1999 were purchased by Infogrames, the same group that had picked up Driver 1 creator Reflections Interactive. Midway Games also released the shuttered Body Harvest for Nintendo 64, which in many ways has been held up as a predecessor to the kind of open-world 3D action GTA 3 would be known for. During their brief time with Gremlin, they also released Space Station Silicon Valley, a game that I rented but completely did not understand, even though I was an adult by this point. This is where it gets complicated. BMG Interactive was the publisher of Grand Theft Auto, not Gremlin. According to IGN's feature on the history of Grand Theft Auto by Russ McLaughlin and Lucas M. Thomas, Dan and Sam Hauser, prep school lads who began with BMG Music signing hip-hop and rap artists, immediately moved over to their new gaming division in 1993. David Jones pitched them on his ideas for a top-down crime game, which he initially called Race and Chase, but the Hausers deftly renamed to Grand Theft Auto.
Drop the, just Facebook. It's cleaner.
Jones left after the Gremlin acquisition, before the Infogrames pickup, and the Hausers studio was bought by Take-Two. They smartly decided to buy DMA Designs from Infogrames, separating Driver and Grand Theft Auto forever, as part of the Take-Two sublabel Rockstar. 2 years later, DMA Designs, now fully under the Rockstar label, released Grand Theft Auto 2. Grand Theft Auto 2 wasn't the huge success of the original, though especially on PlayStation it feels a whole lot more playable. The on-foot sections control better, the frame rate is more stable, and it stops zooming in and out so much. This time, it takes place in the near future in a generic city called Anytown, USA, and the futuristic designs feel a bit less charming than the recognizable cars and locations of the first game. Again, if you have some patience for tank controls and really want to see the origins of the Grand Theft Auto series, this and the first one are genuinely fun games. Of note is the 8-minute live-action film that the Housers made for the game, clips and stills from which were used for the opening movie and interstitial loading screens of GTA 2. It's not great, though it does have the fun Easter egg of the protagonist this time saving a monk instead of running them over. It gives real film school vibes, except with a budget. However, you'll note angles from it were used in the GTA 3 cinematic, so at least it was a useful learning experience. Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 do feel like blueprints for 3. Other than having a fully explorable 3D world, so much of it was already there. The licensed music via the Housers, the parody radio station commercials, playing separate factions off against each other. They had the template for a great game here, they just need to splash in some Driver-style action to make it work. Speaking of Driver, those first 2 games gave a great template for how car-based 3D missions could work in an open environment. Tailing people, escaping the cops, running folks off the road, it's all there. Other influences, particularly 1988's Spectacular Chase HQ by Taito, played into the vision of car combat Reflections Interactive created with Driver. Though more weapons-oriented, you can't forget about car combat games Twisted Metal and Interstate 76 either. Driver had a sense of style that the GTA games adopted too, steeped in 1970s car chase movies and big honkin' muscle cars bounding through open cities. Unlike GTA 3, however, missions were discrete and felt separate from any free roaming you can do, and given the hardware and overall design, the world felt empty and less interactive than even the top-down Grand Theft Auto games. What the Driver games excelled in was the great feel of the heavy American sedans and coupes, and the top-notch physics Reflections had used for their previous Destruction Derby games. Driver 1 was a huge hit on PlayStation and PC, and you know this was something DMA Designs had in their sights as a target to hit and exceed with their next game. Grand Theft Auto 3 is the template for open-world drivey-shooty crime games. Elements of the genre have shown up before, from exploring cities at street level, like in Streets of SimCity, the fast car chases and escapes of the Driver series, the stunts and races from Midtown Madness 1 and 2, and the chaotic violence of something like Postal. This is really the progenitor for open-world mayhem games going forward, from the way missions are structured to the letters on the map indicating mission points. Feels more focused than Grand Theft Auto 2, putting you right away into the action in media res. Grand Theft Auto 3 was released on October 22, 2001, weeks after September 11th.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
It's as much a part of the immediate post-9/11 culture as anything else to be impacted by the events and later associated with it, like how suddenly so many songs on the radio were about Superman and heroes. Grand Theft Auto 3 is a savage satire of Clinton and early Bush-era American culture, which was notable counter-programming to the sudden embracing of militarization that immediately swept the country after the attack. Heck, I was there. I just moved to the US 3 weeks before the attack on a student visa to go to film school, one that was right by an Air Force base, and suddenly there were no commercial flights at all, only fighter jets flying in formation. It was intense seeing a country and the world change so rapidly, and Grand Theft Auto 3 even had to change some of its content at the last minute. Originally the game was going to be an October 2 release. The Cessna-style prop plane was made wingless, removing all flight from the game, and the police cars were redesigned to look less like real NYPD cruisers. You start as an unnamed protagonist, whom many interpret to be Claude Speed from Grand Theft Auto 2, Although this game takes place in 2001 and that game in the future, he does, however, bear a distinct resemblance to the actor for those live-action scenes they filmed for GTA 2. Also, I guess he's introduced as Claude in San Andreas. Honestly, until I read that fact, I'd totally forgotten about his cameo in that game. But for this game at least, he's a blank slate, unnamed, with no interpretable desires or ethics. Most GTA fans still insist that GTA 3 Claude is not GTA 2 Claude, but your headcanon on this may vary. This GTA guy begins by running out of a bank only to be stopped by a woman, Catalina, who seems to imply that he was just a dumb patsy for her and she shoots him and leaves him for dead. Unfortunately for her, he lived and vowed for revenge. Or not. It's pretty hard to say. He doesn't talk. He never seems particularly motivated to do anything except whatever other folks ask him to do. Expository newspaper flashes on screen and cut to cars staking out a police van. They want someone on it. As the van crosses a bridge, an explosive is tossed out and the transport van is hit, heat style. But they aren't here for you. They're here for, and it's really hard to see with the low-fidelity character models, but I believe it's an elderly man who will flit in and out of the story later. You knock out a guard and grab the keys to your cuffs, and end up standing alone in this chaotic crime scene with another guy. This is 8-Ball. His hands are pretty badly hurt,
Lay low, but my hands are all messed up, so you better drive, brother.
and he asks you to drive him to a safe house he knows.
This is the place right here. Let's get off the street and find a change of clothes.
From there, 8-Ball asks you to drive to Sex Club 7. Maybe the best fake club name in a game, named after everyone's favorite English boy and girl group, S Club 7.
Ball's got some business upstairs. Or maybe you could do me a favor. One of my girls needs a ride, so grab a car and pick up Misty from the clinic, then bring her back here. Remember, no one messes with my girls. So keep your hands on the wheel. If you don't mess this up, maybe there'll be more work for you. Now get out of here.
Luigi is our first celebrity voice actor in the game, Joey Pantoliano from Baby's Day Out.
He acts for you, Ed.
He ain't thinking straight. Don't look back.
What are you doing?
Now, for a game that, while promising, wasn't expected to be a massive hit, they still managed to get the budget for a pretty beefy cast. Joey Pant sends you on an exciting quest to pick up one of his girls, Misty, which is a bit more thrilling than it sounds, as it's your first real exposure to the game mechanics. Right here you do notice something that noted video game fan Bjork would later comment on. I disagree here, though. The compass on the minimap really does help, as does the little pip indicating the general direction of where you want to go. Also, originally the game came packaged with a big fold-out map, as with the later PS2 games, though from Vice City onwards, the pause screen would also have a full map with notable locations. GPS-style guidance, though, would have to wait until Grand Theft Auto 4, 7 years down the line. Luigi's quests are just showing you the basics of getting around the map, picking people up and dropping them off. In between, you're free to go on your next mission or explore the city, which is packed with stuff to do, at least for 2001. Notable missions from Luigi include the Fuzzball, where he has to provide escorts for the officers, and means you have to race around the map picking up women and bringing them to a police station under a strict time limit. And Pump Action Pimp, your first real car-on-car combat mission. All the Grand Theft Auto 3 tutorials, such as when you die for the first time or get arrested, are done through unvoiced text boxes in the top left corner. They include the trademark GTA text box beep. This continues even to this day, with the last Rockstar game, Red Dead Redemption 2, even still featuring this style of tutorial. Though in that one you can at least walk around while they lecture you.
How you doing, kid? The Don's son, Joey Leone. He wants some action from his regular girl, Misty. Go pick her up at Hepburn Heights, but watch yourself. That's Diablo Turf. Then run her over to his garage in Trenton and make it quick. Joey ain't the kind you keep waiting. Remember, this is your foot in the door. So keep your eyes on the road and off Misty.
He also guides you to the next mainline mission giver, Joey, the son of mob don Salvatore Leone, who is far more interested in fixing up a dune buggy than crime.
Pirelli is stuffing his fat face in the St. Mark's Bistro, so steal his car and take it to 8 Ball's bomb shop up in Harwood. You know 8 Ball, right?
The voice of whom you may recognize from the aquatic classic Deep Blue Sea. It's Michael Rapaport.
Doc, I locked the pen like I do every other night. The fish got out some other way. Huh. What are you looking at me like that for? Who are you gonna trust? Me. That's who. You trust me. You know why? Because I'm trustworthy. But hurry up, he won't be eaten forever.
His most interesting job is bringing some bank robbers to a bank, which they rob, and then you drive them back. Again, more fun than it sounds, because unless you've been causing mayhem on your own, this may be the most police trouble you've found yourself in. The police system is pretty fun in itself. Crimes done in front of police officers, like say running someone over or stealing a car, will net you 1 star and the officer will attempt to arrest you, following you as long as they can in their car or on foot. Committing further crimes or fighting back against the police gives you another star, and the stars keep mounting up to a maximum possible 6 stars. 2 stars sends multiple police cars after you and they'll start to try to ram you off the road, or if you're on foot, to shoot. 3 stars and the cops will start blocking roads and sending a helicopter with a sniper on board after you. 4 stars and the SWAT vans show up. 5 stars, the FBI are called in their hotted up faux Dodge Intrepids. Finally, 6 stars means the military is out with tanks and you will have to work very, very hard to get away. One of the better Joey missions is Mike Lips's Last Lunch, a very simple 3-step mission of boosting a car, taking it to 8 Ball's weapons dealer and equipping with a bomb, then parking it back where you got it and getting out of Dodge before Mike starts it. Simple, but satisfying. There's also Dead Skunk in the Trunk, where you have to drive a car with a dead body in the back to get crushed to dispose of the evidence, but you get jumped by some Pirelli goons. This just has some neat attention to detail. The trunk is splattered with blood, and if you get any damage from behind, which you probably are going to get with the Mafia mooks chasing you, you'll see a corpse tied up in there.
Yeah, no, Tony, I've tuned her real sweet. She purrs, you know what I mean? Oh, here's the guy I was telling you about. Alright, listen, this guy, he ain't Italian and he's no mechanic, but he could get things fixed. This is Pop's capo, Tony Cipriani.
Yeah, I'm Tony Cipriani.
From Joey, you meet Tony Cipriani, who you might remember as the voice of Drift 3R's John Tanner, Michael Madsen.
Word goes out South Beach lost one of their V8s, and every known hitman in Miami's asking for you. 3 hours later, you're walking right down the middle of Collins Avenue, tight with Tico's gang. You cut a deal, Bawdiest, but you're not gonna give them back their V8. I am.
They'll smell cop and come looking for me.
But I'm getting you a haircut and a new life up north.
The car's in the Gold Coast Hotel. I gotta take it to a warehouse called Nastro's. They're waiting for me.
Tony with an I is going full Tony with a Y soprano here, with a mother with whom he communicates solely through yelling.
Sorry, Ma. Yes, Ma.
Tony's also the biggest bear of the game.
And mangle any triad gimp that gets in your way.
Tony's missions are more violent and more strongly introduce a running thread of the game. Liberty City is being taken over by a new narcotic.
What is it?
Well, street name's Glint, but it's also known as Glow, Glimmer, or Satan's Hair Lip.
There's a new high on the street. Goes by the name of Spank. Some wise guy's been introducing this trash to my girls down Portland Harbor. Go and introduce a bat to his face.
Spank. On my initial playthrough in the bygone year of 2002, I don't think I noticed them laying the story threads through this early, but there's several mentions of Spank being distributed through the city by the Colombian cartel. Joey makes vague reference to it.
Chunky Lee Chung is pushing Spank for some new gang from Colombia or Colorado or something. I'm not really sure. Who needs details anyway?
And these dealers are causing Tony some grief. But an even bigger thorn in his side are the Chinese Triad, who are pushing him out of his turf. His missions are based around an escalating turf war with the Triad, starting with a Triad business deal that turns into an ambush. This highlights one of the problems with this game, and gives you a situation that every version of the game I played has some difficulty with. You're in a confined space, and get rushed by Triad goons on all sides. The PS2 and original Xbox versions have a variety of views, and there's a delightful retro to 1 year ago when GTA 2 came out, top-down view that emulates the first two games quite well. This view actually makes shooting scenes quite a bit easier. Don't expect to aim down sights, and most guns don't have any form of free aim. You've just got auto-targeting, which can get quite finicky the closer an enemy gets to you. Fortunately, if you happen to pick up that shotgun you can find in North Portland in one of the apartment building courtyards, you can take out multiple baddies before they can even reach you. At least the amount of mission scenarios that force you to take an encounter on foot like this are pretty limited. The situation with the Triad escalates quickly, with Tony assaulting a small laundromat, and then moving you to stealing and exploding 3 Triad trucks. He suggests you visit 8-Ball to grab some grenades. I'm going to say it right now, trying to hit those trucks with a grenade in this game, with these aiming mechanics, is just not going to happen. One of the neat things about playing a game again after 20 odd years is getting flashbacks to your first time playing it, and I distinctly remember this being the first real tough point of the game and getting frustrated with 1, how few grenades you're given, and 2, how bad the aiming is. Add in trying to get the perfect timing for when a truck rolls by and this becomes a rough mission. But it doesn't have to be. Given the open nature of the mission, with 3 trucks rolling around the Portland area and no time limit, you've got a whole lot of options. For one thing, you don't need to stick to the grenades. A more useful weapon here just might be, say, a fire truck. In my Drift 3R review, I was dismissive of the physics of these early 3D Grand Theft Auto games, but coming back to them now, that's not entirely fair. Vehicle weight does matter, and having a larger vehicle than the one you're trying to ram off the road is a good idea. Get enough speed and the fire truck sends them flying, which is great. Or, if you don't feel like getting your Chase HQ on, you can simply hijack the truck and then do whatever the heck you want with them. Crush them! Use them to smash into the other truck, hopefully making one or both catch fire and explode. Park them and use grenades to explode them. The choice is wide open. Actually, don't bother with grenades. You're much better off destroying these with other means. Throwing grenades tends to attract a lot of police attention, particularly if you miss, while just ramming the truck into the other ones barely gets a blip of attention even if a cop is right there. Unless you kill someone. Another tough Tony mission, this time given to you by letter and the voice of Tony's mother, is where you have to take 2 Mafia heavies with you and take out 3 Triad bosses. The closest, which I would consider the first, but you can do any combination and again have no time limit, is easy. Just run them over. The second is on the other side of some bollards in Chinatown. The entire island of Portland is in full gang war chaos, with hordes of Triad and Mafia just blasting the heck out of each other. It's wild. Here, the shotgun that Tony gives you helps out immensely. Just target the guy as best you can and fire. At this point, the henchmen you're assigned are probably dead, and you've got to get out of there to get to the third boss, who you find when you get to the fish factory can't be reached without a Triad fish van. The annoying part is that in this area, plenty of fish vans spawn, but they also tend to be the Yo Ma fish vans, and not the belly-up fish truck that you need. After this, with the Blowfish mission, Tony decides the factory has to go.
Liberty once and for all. 8-Ball's rigged a dust cart with a bomb. It's on a timer, so if you mess up, there'll be no evidence. Go and pick up the dust cart.
Where he asks you to collect a dust cart to drive to the facility. Now, I'm pretty sure that's a legacy UK term, and not secretly what all Italian-American New Yorkers call a garbage truck, because I don't think I've ever heard anyone call a garbage truck a dust cart at any point in my life in Canada or the US. And my parents are from England! By this point now, Chinatown has become a dangerous place to wander around, even out of missions, as all Triad members will attack you on sight. Gotta get those collectibles and mayhem missions out of the way first. Finally, Tony asks you to drive a limo and pick up all the bigwigs for a meeting back at the Don's lavish estate. You grab Joey in the limo from the garage, Tony from his mom's restaurant, and Luigi from Sex Club 7.
How you doing?
Shock and surprise, the Triad launch an all-out assault on these Mafia bosses, and you have to haul them to safety. Fortunately, the limo is pretty sturdy, but you can be out of luck if, as you see here, the Triads manage to completely block any entrance to the estate. Now, Don Salvatore Cipriani, as played by beloved Goodfella and soprano Frank Vincent.
All right, good.
You're getting too big on me now.
Just don't go busting my balls, Billy, okay?
Hey, Tommy, if I was going to break your balls, I'd tell you to go home and get your shine box.
Decides to take you under his wing and make you a made man in a short mission chain that leads to the end of Act 1.
I see nothing but good things for you, my boy.
There's Chaperone,
Move your butt.
where you meet the initially insulting Maria,
Every time. And here she is, the one and only Queen of Sheba.
Salvatore's unhappy younger wife. In an unusual move, Maria is played by a prototype defense platform called the Defensive Ectothermic Ballistic Intervention Maser Cannon. The DEBI Maser holographic AI interface was an offbeat choice, but it does a good job.
Yeah. I'm sure your new lapdog has everything covered. And isn't he big and strong? Hey, Fido, let's go visit Chico and get some party treats. He's at the rail station at the Chinatown waterfront, I think.
Maria calls you Fido, but then compliments you on treating her with respect after a rave she goes to ends up being raided by the feds.
You know, I enjoyed myself for the first time in a long while, and you treated me really good with respect and everything. Well, I better go. I'll see you around, I hope.
Finally, you get a climactic multi-part mission to the source of the spank that's infesting the city, when the Don asks you to tail a suspected rat, and then said rat leads you to the Colombian's tanker. The Don wants this tanker exploded, so you need to see 8-Ball and somehow finance the $100,000 in bomb parts yourself. Fortunately, even if you fail this mission, the game only charges you once, as that will likely be a big chunk of your mission earnings. 8-Ball can't shoot to defend himself, but he'll go plant the charges. He just needs you up on the roof of a nearby building to take out the defending Colombians, in a pretty fun but challenging sniper sequence. You have to quickly take out all the attackers as 8-Ball runs up, which means you need to be zooming in and out and quickly swiping through a whole mess of guards while exploding some barrels for good measure. The tanker goes boom, and Cipriani wants to reward you, after you dispose of a cheetah, aka Testarossa, with a body in the trunk? Hood?
I just got one little job for you before we can all celebrate. There's a car around the block from Luigi's club. The inside is covered in brains. We had to help some guy make up his mind, and it proved a little messy. Take it to the crusher before the cops find it.
I don't think you can fit a body anywhere inside a Testarossa other than the seats. Either way, you get a urgent pager text from Maria telling you to get the hell out of there as it's a trap. If you continue with the mission objective, you indeed will explode. You meet Maria by the docks with a boat and her Yakuza buddy Asuka.
Listen, Salvatore thinks that we're going behind his back, so he was offering you to the cartel in order to make a deal. I couldn't let him do that. I mean, the worst thing is, it's all my fault because I told him we were an item. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Look, you're a marked man on the Mafia turf, and I've got to get out of here, too. I've seen too much killing, too much blood. Look, this is a friend of mine, okay? She's an old friend, and it's so good. She's someone we could trust.
Come on, enough of the speeches. We better get out of here before we get more hysterical Italians wanting less friendly reunions.
It turns out the betrayal is her fault. She told the Don she was having an affair with you. But hey, now you have access to the Manhattan Island proxy, Staunton Island. I did have to look up what exactly part of the greater New York City area Portland was supposed to be. Apparently it's Queens and Brooklyn. Also, apparently the Bronx and Brooklyn are two different places. Who knew? My New York City geographic knowledge is exceptionally poor. Don't even ask me what Shoreside Vale is supposed to be. Jersey? No idea. I didn't realize, and you might not either, that each universe of Grand Theft Auto has different versions of Liberty City, Vice City, and San Andreas. There's the original 2D universe, the 3D PS2 Trilogy universe, and the current HD era universe. For instance, Manhattan Island is Staunton Island in GTA 3, while it is Algonquin in GTA 4, and Liberty Island in the 2D games. So now you can check out the Times Square-ish area around Torrington/Bedford Point with big ol' ads. There's the Staunton University and stadiums up north, and a whole lot of the city is under construction. You also get a new safe house with a double-wide garage for more car storage.
We have certain issues to clear up before we continue any form of relationship, business or otherwise. Let's lay our cards on the table. I am Yakuza, and I know you worked for Salvatore Leone's family.
You start off with Asuka as your main quest giver, and she does seem to be having a sort of Fear Effect-style hot lesbian affair with Maria, although I could be reading that wrong.
Meanwhile, Maria and I will catch up on old times.
Oh, Asuka, you've got a massager.
That's not a massager.
She wants you to prove your loyalty by offing the Don. Quite the power move. GTA 3 guy has no compunctions about this, though to be fair, the Don did just try to have him killed. This is a neat mission where you know the Don will be exiting Luigi's strip club, Sex Club 7, surrounded by guards, and it has a Mercenaries-like level of openness to its design. Of course, it's probably fair to say that Mercenaries has GTA 3 level openness in its missions, but that's a whole other discussion. You can run Don Leone over, though his guards are all equipped with shotguns, which can make any non-armored vehicle unlikely to survive the maneuver. You can chase his limo through the city, preferably with something large like a fire truck, though the route between Luigi's and his mansion is pretty short, so you have to be really on the ball to make this work. Or, hear me out, you can use your beloved sniper rifle. At this point, you should probably have some bullets left after the sniper mission, but you can also buy sniper ammo, gun included, at the Staunton Island Ammunition. Taking out the Don in one shot is immensely satisfying, though I imagine running him over with a fire truck or dust cart could be pretty great too. Other than Sayonara Salvatore, other missions of note from her here are Under Surveillance, where you have to take out the agents monitoring Yakuza activity around Staunton, and at which point I probably started using the sniper rifle as GTA's hammer, to which all assassination targets become nails. Listen, when you find a tool that works, you stick with it. There's briefly a wall full of agents on balconies that I imagine would be pretty tricky to handle with anything without free aiming, and in the original Xbox and PS2 versions of the game, that's either the sniper rifle or the assault rifle. On the original trilogy release on PC, all weapons are free aim with mouse and keyboard, the game not bothering with lock-on in this mode. There's a boat-on-boat combat section that's pretty fun with Paparazzi Purge, and Two-Faced Tanner gives you the opportunity to murder the protagonist of most of the Driver series, as part of a probably good-spirited feud between the two developers. Asuka introduces you to her brother Kenji for a few unremarkable missions, as well as maybe my favorite mission to give her in the game, Officer Ray Machowski.
Another bent cop. Well, it's a bent world. Just because I lost a few partners, those suckers from Internal Affairs have started sniffing around.
A corrupt cop on the Yakuza payroll, voiced by Robert Loggia.
Try some new Minute Maid orange tangerine. It's got calcium.
Then I'm not drinking it.
Oh, no, it's sweet. You'll like it.
I don't believe you.
Well, then who would you believe?
I don't know, Robert Loggia. Whoa, Robert Loggia.
Billy, your mother's right. New Minute Maid orange tangerine tastes great. It's got as much calcium as milk.
If you say so, Mr. Loggia.
Yeah.
This is great.
Enjoy your breakfast.
Kenji operates out of the Staunton Island Casino, and he had one mission I found hair-pullingly frustrating back in 2002, if you're wondering why I'm bald. You need to steal a Yardi Lobo. Every other gang has easily identifiable cars they'll frequently ram you with, but every mission I'd done to this point through payphones for the Yardis had them in a station wagon. That's not what he wants. There's specifically a Yardi Lobo, which looks just like a purple Idaho, but has 3 circle taillights instead. This vehicle only really shows up around the casino, so if you head on the road north from there, you'll most likely walk into one, but it can take a while. Afterwards, they'll show up all the time, of course. But Ray, he's great. He always meets you in the Belleville Park bathrooms, and that's, for some reason, the only area in the game with fixed Resident Evil / Silent Hill style angles. Not sure why, but it's neat. His missions include Silence the Sneak, where you have to throw Molotov cocktails in a window to get an informant Leon McCaffrey out of a building. Easier said than done. Arms Shortage, where you meet the friendly arms dealer and have to help him defend his base. Finally, you must deal with Ray's anger when it turns out Leon McCaffrey is still alive. You need to knock his cast-covered body out of the ambulance, and then use some kind of explosive to get through his bulletproof casing. This one took a while, due to the sheer amount of police resistance that happens when you attack the ambulance, and also one time where poor Leon did get embedded in an overpass and was hard to hit. That Arms Shortage mission is the third most difficult on-foot section, as you basically have to sneak around crates and avoid being in the line of fire of cartel jerks. It requires patience and a lot of body armor. Or you'll notice those rocket launchers above the crates. Finally, you get to meet Donald Love, a sort of Trump surrogate real estate magnate obsessed with deal-making.
Nothing drives down real estate prices like a good old-fashioned gang war, apart from an outbreak of plague, but that might be going too far in this case.
He's voiced by Kyle MacLachlan of Dune and Fallout fame.
What's in the box?
Pain.
This take on a pre-apprentice Trump feels a bit quieter and more erudite. The actual Trump wouldn't drop 25-cent words around much, like erudite.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
This was the same era as Sex and the City's Big.
You see that guy? He's the next Donald Trump, except he's younger and much better looking.
Hi.
Do you know him?
No, I've never seen him in my life.
Another Trump surrogate who ends up in an on-again, off-again relationship with the worst sex columnist ever. His initial set of quests start with you rescuing the elderly Southeast Asian gentleman from the Colombians, who I believe was the target of their attack on the police transport van back in the beginning of the game. Love's ultimate goal is to establish a gang war to weaken all the gangs of Liberty City, so his next mission for you is to steal a Colombian pickup truck, one of the best vehicles in the game by the way, and run over Asuka's brother Kenji. At this point, Kenji has been threatening GTA 3 protagonist Guy, so again, it's somewhat understandable. There's another boat mission, A Drop to the Ocean, where you have to quickly pick up 6 packages dropped by a dodo. And the time crunch on this one is real. If you spend too long getting a boat and getting it over to the right area, the police will come and grab the packages themselves. Love then informs you this was a diversion in the mission Grand Theft Aero, and the package has been waiting inside the plane the whole time, which has been impounded by the Liberty City Port Authority. You swing by there, only to find all the cops dead, and the Colombians are there, and pretty peeved at you. You have to grab the package from the dodo, which can't fly for reasons mentioned earlier, and then the game gives you a weird moment to look at the vans the cartel arrived in, which you can possibly miss and drive around not sure as to what to do. Then lets you know these were seen around the construction yard on Staunton Island. The last rough on-foot fight is here, though pro tip, you can climb up the next door tower and snipe most of the bad guys before you walk through their killing maze. Also remember that the top-down view and the shotgun are your friends in close quarters like that for best viewing angle. As you make your way up the tower, you get the drop on Miguel and Catalina.
Hey, let's get this out of here. God knows what it is, but he seems to want it badly enough, so it must be worth something.
Who the heck?
You!
Hey, take it easy, amigo. No es nada, no es nada.
I left you pouring your heart out into that
Miguel, resigned, hands you Love's mystery package, while Catalina jumps off the girders into a dumpster. Oh, and she shoots Miguel.
Choice, baby.
We always got a choice, you dumb bastard.
I'm sorry about the crazy bitch, man. They all the same, please. Por favor.
So, the whore got away.
Asuka has returned from a possibly sexy vacation with Maria. Again, I don't know, maybe I'm misreading the scenes between them. But she decides to torture Miguel out of vengeance for a dead brother, never finding out that it was you rascally little scamp, that ran over him with a Colombian pickup truck. At this point, the chaos of the city is building up. After Love's move to frame the Colombians, Asuka is trying to torture more info out of Miguel. Meanwhile, Donald Love has a few more missions for you, grabbing a Secura car, which he uses to transport his elderly Asian friend, defending said Secura car after the feds find out his location, and then driving it around as a decoy for a set amount of time as a diversion on the now unlocked third area, Shoreside Vale. Shoreside Vale is huge, and very vertical, with tunnels and hills and even some wilderness area. There's not much to do here, there's no ammunition, just a secret black market weapons area behind the police station, but there's still plenty to explore and a fun world design. Stage design? City design? I don't even know what to call it.
You weren't followed. Good. This is it. I'm way over my head and I'm starting to drown here. The CIA seems to have a vested interest in Spank, and they don't like us screwing with the cartel. I'm a marked man, so I'm getting out of here.
You also take Ray to the airport. He's been investigating the importation of Spank into the city, and realizes at this point that the feds, probably the CIA, are involved and wants to get the heck out of Dodge. Surprisingly, he makes his exit intact. He gives you a bunker full of weapons and a bulletproof Hummer. Unfortunately, this is a one-time deal, and I turned away from the garage for a moment to park my car, and when I looked back, the Hummer was gone. Ugh. Speaking of disappearances, you head back to Donald Love's building, and neither he nor the elderly Asian gentleman are there. That's a wrap for Kyle MacLachlan, everyone. This leaves a fascinating story hook that is never resolved, as there were no 3D-era Grand Theft Auto games that take place after GTA 3 in the timeline. Again, the HD games were on a separate timeline. Oh yeah, I should mention the phone booth missions. There's a series from Marty from Bitching Dog Food called The Crook, the Thieves, the Wife, and the Lover. A bit of a left-field reference to the cult favorite Peter Greenaway film.
I eat in the best restaurants.
Georgina, try a little harder, please.
There's also some repeatable race missions, and a tough one you can do for the yardies.
I want you to steal me some gang cars so we can do some naughty thing on our enemy turf. I want me a Mafia Sentinel, a Yakuza Stinger, and a Diablo Inferno so we can hit up any gang in Liberty. Drop them off at the garage in Newport and hear this. They're no use to me, all broke up now.
That was difficult just due to who you're stealing from. You're supposed to grab a Yakuza Stinger, easy peasy. There's always one by Asuka's apartment. Then a Diablo Stallion, basically a Mustang. Those are always driving around their territory in the red light district on Portland. And the tough one, a Mafia Sentinel, a sort of 5 Series Euro sedan. At this point, Mafia mooks will gun you down on sight, so you have to chart a course very carefully to get one out of Portland and back to Staunton Island. Taking the tunnel is the best way to go. Asuka is, one mission aside, the final quest giver with her last set of 3 missions. Bait is a mission that I attempted to do a couple of times in what probably is the wrong manner. You're supposed to lead 3 cartel hit squads into a death trap for them by getting them to follow you to a warehouse in Shoreside Vale. What I was doing wrong was trying to string all 3 vehicles in a row behind me to get to the warehouse, which is technically possible but difficult as they'll be firing out the windows of their cars at you and ramming you the entire time, and more than likely you'll explode. What I think you're supposed to do, I eventually figured out, is lead them one at a time to the kill zone. There's a forgettable run over espresso booths missions, and then finally, Sam.
Do we tighten it some more now or just wait for it to turn black and fall off?
Give it a quick prod.
Oh, what is that gooey yellow stuff? Oh, hey, babe!
My handyman.
I was bored, so I came over to keep Asuka company.
She's got the makings of a natural, this girl. She's managed to extract this little gem from our guest. There's a plane coming into Francis International in 2 hours' time. It is full of Catalina's poison. You can avoid airport security by getting a boat out to the runway light buoys and shooting the plane down on its approach. Collect the cargo from the debris and stash it.
Oh, you be careful now, okay, baby?
Now try the chili oil.
We have to shoot down a Cessna-type dodo and retrieve its packages in a boat. You really do have to use the boats provided to you, because unless the mission requires navigating around chunks of the city, there's often trawl lines preventing you from boating around willy-nilly. So you grab a boat marked on the map, make your way down to the shoot point, and then manually shoot down a plane as it's on its descent to the Liberty City Airport runway. It's pretty easy to miss. If you hit it, the game tends to expect the plane to explode over the runway, meaning you'll have to deal with cartel folks on the runway and the FBI cars as soon as you head towards the exit via automobile. However, you may just be lucky enough to shoot over the water, which means you can just collect the packages and head back to the dock. A pro tip: if you do have to collect the packages over the runway, head back down to the very tip of it and there's a solitary cartel guy guarding a speedboat, a quick way to get back to shore. As shooting the dodo down will give you an immediate 4-star wanted level, trying to get back by land is the worst way. Helicopters will shoot you over water, but it's better than the constant barrage of suicidal police and military vehicles. I recommend you take something like a Hummer to the docks, anything that can survive the bullet storm you'll receive, trying just barely to get back to Asuka's new headquarters and cartel building projects. But, unfortunately, she's not looking too great when you get there. She's had an encounter with her katana, and Miguel is pretty dead too. Maria is being held for ransom by Catalina, and I guess the implication is that GTA guy, for some reason, is willing to pay the ransom to have her released? Either way, I haven't seen that kind of bravery since John Black drank the poisoned soup that Stefano made that would erase his memory on Days of Our Lives.
Your soup is getting cold.
Hang on to
Count, don't do it. Don't let him take your memory from you. Don't let him do it.
I can give you everything you want, Stefano, and I will. If you let Marlena
go. Of course.
He's lying. Don't believe him. He's lying.
He has no choice, Marlena.
But we climb a step every day. Love lifts up where we belong, where the eagles cry on a mountain high.
You head to her estate in Shoreside Vale, give up all your precious weapons, and pay her $500,000. Which you might have to do side quests, stunts, and find hidden packages to afford. And then this happens.
The real question is, did you turn up to rescue Maria or to get me back? Well, I got news for you. Shooting you will be a pleasure, but dating you was only business. You are muy pequeñito, amigo. Throw over the cash. You have been a busy boy, but you haven't learned. I'm not to be trusted. Kill the idiot!
Without any weapons except what you scrounge from dead cartel members, you have to fight your way out of the grounds and chase her helicopter. I remember being flummoxed, just absolutely flummoxed, by the final fight taking place on the big hydroelectric dam. Sadly, you don't have much time to grab a sniper rifle, though perhaps it is technically possible as there is a free one out in Shoreside Vale. Fortunately, about half the cartel mooks carry an assault rifle, which, while not having a zoom lens, at least lets you free aim. You have to very deliberately move your way through the dam, killing baddies just as you enter range, until you meet Maria. At this point, Carlita is making firebombing passes at you, and Resident Evil 1 style, there just happens to be a rocket launcher right there on the helicopter platform for you to make one final shot at your ex. She explodes, and cut to news reports about the gang war being suddenly over.
Residents in Cedar Grove have been coming to terms with the emotional aftermath of a full-blown war that hit the area yesterday. Local resident Clive Denver described to police a single gunman that he saw fleeing the scene with a dark-haired woman.
We're gonna have such fun, because, you know, I love you. I really do, because you're such a big, strong man, and that's just what I need. Anyway, what was I saying? I forget, but you know what it's like, don't you?
Then, over credits, you hear from Maria about what dating is going to be like, and this happens.
I broke a nail, and my hair is ruined. I mean, can you believe it? This one cost me $50.
Oh, problematic.
So why did Grand Theft Auto 3 become a major hit? Why did it hit so hard? Why was it good? To start with, and this is pretty obvious, because it's fun. As I said before, they already had the blueprint for how to make a fun game, but putting it into a polygonally rendered environment really makes it work, which was still new in terms of scale and in terms of perspective. There's a lot of novelty, especially in 2001, to walk around a city that feels living and breathing, and interacts back with you in entertaining mechanical manners. Driver 2 let you walk around cities, but there wasn't a lot to do, and it didn't feel good to do it. Just trying to get up a flight of stairs was a chore. Here, walking around is fun. Bumping into people is fun. They get annoyed, yell at you, maybe try to start a fight. Every type of pedestrian and driver has their own library of things they can say, both to themselves and to you. But movement is good. The cars have a surprising amount of physics to them. In my Drift VR video, I said that there wasn't much of the car movement, but them behaving like pivoting shopping carts in GTA 3, but I wasn't giving the game enough credit. Getting used to their handbrake turning takes a bit of time, but there are differences between models, and sliding vehicles around is a lot of fun. Driving physics would improve with San Andreas, but it's surprisingly good for a first 3D outing here in GTA 3. Moving around on foot, for the most part, is great too. They ditched tank controls and went for a screen-oriented directional movement, always for the best. Sure, there are a couple of moments where you're trying to grab a secret where you have to make some awkward jumps that don't feel great. And not having a right-stick camera look is a deficit that wouldn't be remedied until Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories on PS2. But overall, you'll have fun just walking around. The city is fun to explore. It's well designed, both to get around and to maximize space usage with plenty of nooks and crannies to explore. Initially, after an explosion took out the main bridge to Staunton Island, you're restricted to Brooklyn, the Bronx, I don't know. The stand-in for this area is Portland, which contains, obviously, the port, as well as Little Italy, Chinatown, and the red light district of Liberty City. Even within this third of the overall map, you've got so much to do. There's an elevated train system you can ride around, unique jumps you can find, hidden packages located on rooftops and odd corners of buildings, more advanced weapons that are geared towards the middle of the game, like the Molotov cocktail, rocket launcher, and shotgun can be found, as well as armor pickups that boost your defense, police bribe stars that reduce one wanted level, and adrenaline pills that slow down time, which I mostly grabbed by accident. The time slowing effect isn't really useful, and mostly is just annoying. There's a cleverness to level design too that is reflected in the missions. Like take for instance Sayonara Salvatore, where you have a very limited amount of time to assassinate the Mafia Don. There just happens to be a perfect sniper spot right across the street from where he'll show up. And it's never highlighted or painted in yellow. Heck, it never even tells you you should use the sniper rifle. But it just so happens there's an accessible roof with a perfect line of sight from him leaving Sex Club 7. I mentioned before secrets. There are 100 hidden packages to find, rampage missions, armor pickups, and more powerful weapons around the map. And almost every time you investigate a weird alleyway, secret tunnel, or pier, there's something to make the trip worthwhile. The super jumps are great too. These are unique jumps you can find around the map that give you a great slow motion view of your vehicle speeding through the air. For each package found, Mayhem Mission Complete or Super Jump completed correctly, you get an incrementally increasing reward, so by the end you're getting filthy rich doing these. Plus, the more hidden packages you find, the more weapons and armor you'll have for free at your save points. Rampage missions are a lot of fun, giving you one type of weapon with unlimited ammo and a time limit to kill as many of X as possible, usually vehicles or gang members. The problem is, of course, just staying alive long enough to hit the Rampage kill count target, as your wanted level will steadily increase as you go, as well as having irate gang members rush you. But it's way fun. This is something that the Saints Row games would take and run with. You can solve missions as creatively as you want, or you can pull a Mrs. Spiders and just hit everyone with your car.
Girls, get in, get in!
And the game often gives you a couple of different chances to take someone out, usually on foot and then in car if things go south. But like with the Take Out 3 Vans mission, you didn't have to use grenades as the game indicated. You can pile into them with heavy vehicles or knock them into water, whatever floats your boat, which is ironic because these trucks don't float. This really helps things from getting too frustrating, most of the time, because you can just figure out a completely different way of handling it. Different weapon, a different vehicle, a completely different approach. I just wish there had been landmines. This game really needs landmines. It also turns out if you pay attention to the plot, there's a through line happening, which I'm not sure I noticed playing it over the course of a few months back in 2002. The performances are well directed and no one sounds like they're sleepily phoning it in, rare for celebrity voiceovers in video games. I haven't even talked about the radio. While the selection of music is not up to later game standards, particularly Grand Theft Auto Vice City, whose enormous catalog of 80s classics made the soundtrack a phenomenon, and sparked renewed interest in bands like A Flock of Seagulls and Human League. It still has a depth and breadth that is surprising. Most prominent is the radio station Flashback FM, which consists almost entirely of tracks from the original Scarface soundtrack. Debbie Harry singing Buzz Buzz Get Me Yayo will be, for all time, associated with working my way through GTA 3. Each station has a DJ, which radio producer and writer Laszlo hired from real-life DJs.
It's time to shake it up with me, Tony, here on Flashback. Flashback, flashback,
as well as hit-or-miss parody commercials.
Like a kitten, have one delivered. Just log on to petsovernight.com and we'll send you a cute kitten overnight. Petsovernight.com, delivering little
Laszlo himself hosts Chatterbox FM, where they do the old Frasier trick of having celebrities calling in as one of Liberty City's insane listeners.
All-night mini-mart, and I've been watching myself on the video camera,
and the camera me is doing things I don't approve of.
All right, hello, next caller. You're on Chatterbox.
I want to talk about that Fang stuff. People say it's bad for you. It's not bad for you at all. Why aren't you talking? Oh, you think I'm strange? Am I on the air? Hello? Answer me, you pansy.
What's your question?
Fang! 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 Fang!
What about it? I mean, that's not really a question. Questions usually start with words like how and why, and heading in with your voice going up like this.
Come on, me. I know where you work. You're just like all the rest.
How's that?
Alright, it's evil, dude.
Of course, the selection of celebrities here just happens to be the voice cast. Kyle MacLachlan, Michael Madsen, even the Mazar canon all have cameos. Back in 2002, for me, this was some of the funniest stuff I'd ever heard. Going back now, I still laugh, but it's definitely cemented in the 2002 era of shock humor.
Studio kind of forced him on.
Hey, you watch yourself, mister. And you, Janice, why are you so ugly? Your husband, he don't make you happy?
No, he's an idiot and a jerk.
But he's probably a good daddy, and you sound very pretty. Angry, and a little bit of a know-it-all, but very pretty lady.
A huge part of the appeal for the game, though, is just loading it up, enabling cheats, and blowing stuff up after having a bad day at work, or class, or life. Many people who love the game will tell you they never actually spent much time doing the single-player campaign. They just wrecked shit. This game was built for it. So what did Grand Theft Auto 3 do wrong? First of all, we have to talk about the combat. For the original release, lock-on is presented with a faint red box around targets, and you can cycle between who you are aiming at. Most weapons have no free aim on PS2 and Xbox, so you're very dependent on the auto-targeting picking the correct enemy. It does not, seemingly picking whichever NPC is closest to the center of your aim, rather than, say, whoever is closest to you or actively attacking you. Ocarina of Time, this is not. On PC with the original trilogy, this is improved by all weapons having a free look with mouse and keyboard, though close quarters combat is still frantic and difficult to control. While you might just assign the blame to this being a 2001 game, remember that 2001 had some fantastic advances in play control. Halo on Xbox cemented how dual-stick gaming should work, Metal Gear Solid 2 had stylish action with complicated but tight controls, Max Payne on PC showed that the first-person shooting could be stylish, intense, and playable even with a mouse and keyboard. The game breaks down a bit in cramped quarters, which might end up in while exploring or in combat. The camera does get easily snagged, and even my go-to top-down camera trick can be totally useless if there's an awning or bridge over your head. Also, there's a complete lack of checkpointing during missions, something that would really only get introduced in the HD era of the GTA games. When killed or arrested, you respawn with no weapons at either the closest police station or hospital, so you've either got to load your latest save or recollect whatever you'll be needing for the mission, especially armor. For some missions where having a specific loadout really does help, loading a prepared save will remove a bit of this frustration, but you'll still have to drive to the quest giver, skip through the cutscenes, drive to the mission destinations, etc. On hard missions, this can be really irritating. Oh yeah, let's talk about the sex worker thing. This was a huge scandal when the game came out, because yes, you can hire prostitutes, you can pay to get your health back, and if you so desire, you can murder them and then get some of your money back. I don't know if the amount of money you receive is supplemented by you having paid them, but this is definitely something you can do in the game. The way the sex is shown is juvenile, but in no way titillating or graphic. You just see the car you're in rocking. Everyone I knew at the time who had played this game, admittedly, this was all 20-something male nerds in 2002, tried it for the "I can't believe you can do this" factor. Even me. But in 2024, it didn't even occur to me to try this on this playthrough, because free health pickups are everywhere and it's kind of pointless. Oh yeah, you also get a slight health boost from hiring a sex worker, something that I didn't even notice until editing footage today, so there's that. This is the only way in the game to get above 100% health. Now, this sort of doofy sex joke is not uncommon in games. Look at Kratos in God of War. It's not shocking or even particularly interesting. While the game never tells you picking up prostitutes is something you can do. And I'm not even sure the kill the prostitute to get your money back idea was a specific programming feature beyond everyone you meet being able to be attacked. Violence against sex workers was a weirdly common punchline back in that era.
Oh, it's a big trunk. I'll show you right here. Well, you got a dead hooker in the trunk. What? No, it can't be. Yes, it was. It was a dead hooker. It wasn't a dead hooker! Pal, I know a dead hooker when I see one. What's happening? Hey, folks, come on down. Hey, here's another dead hooker in this trunk. What? Oh my goodness! What are you doing? I've never seen so many dead hookers in all my life.
Lord knows I have.
Violence against sex workers is real, and they are among the most at-risk group for homicide, especially queer and trans sex workers. It is worth noting the game doesn't encourage it, and really you do have to go out of your way to initiate the whole scenario. I think a lot more people now know about the terrible treatment of sex workers, and are less likely to find the whole setup funny or worth doing. If you're going to go ahead and comment that you love to use and kill sex workers in this game, I'm going to go ahead and say you probably should take a good long think about that and maybe talk to someone about it. For the joke at the end of the game that Maria talks too much and GTA guy kills her, that is way more of a problem for me. I imagine internet straw men telling me that it's ridiculous for me to find this in any way upsetting in a game where you literally kill thousands of people, and maybe from that perspective it is. But to me, it's just a gag on intimate partner violence and the kind of gross woman hating that I just don't like or even get. The treatment of women in GTA games has gone through all sorts of peaks and valleys over the years, with a high point in GTA 4 having queer woman quest giver, genuinely thoughtful and well-written female characters you could date or even just get to know, and a soft-spoken protagonist who treats them well. I haven't finished GTA 5, but I felt that it initially takes a nosedive with Michael's wife just being a mean caricature of a woman, and that the game assumes you sympathize with him, or at least get a chuckle out of his perspective. Reminds me of how I could just not understand Married with Children, with schlubby Al Bundy week after week seething with hatred over his charming wife played by one of the most beautiful women of all time.
Your paycheck is so small, we can't afford the luxuries of life.
Gee, Peg, is a shotgun considered a luxury?
Maybe. But unlike you, Al, a shotgun can go off more than once a month.
Well, if I had something worth stuffing, maybe I'd take my gun in the woods more often.
The weird misanthropy of Grand Theft Auto series did seem to grow with each iteration. Again, with the exception of 4, and that's always been a problem with me for the series. A writer and an essayist I really enjoy, Noah Caldwell-Gervais, has a good counterpoint that making the world and everyone in it so loathsome is better and kind of necessary for the game, since it gives you a guilt-free path to drive your fire truck straight through it without a care. That everyone sucks is a feature, and it makes the kind of sociopathic gameplay you engage with better and make more sense. He contrasts this with Watch Dogs 2, where the protagonist is genial and likable, but still able to do a terrorism. I'm not sure I entirely agree, but I think it's a fair point. And to the internet commenters who tell me you kill thousands of people in this game, why do you care? I'd say yeah, this is true, but I still do care about the kind of media I consume and the perspectives I'm exposed to, and it's always good to critically react and think about what you're ingesting from what you watch and what you play. I also want to take a moment to talk about the queer representation of this game. And yes, there is some. And no, given that it's a 2001 bro-y humor game, the representation is not fantastic. I mean, it's not terrible, it's just 2001. Basically, you've got the construction worker NPCs that wander around some areas of the city who will only speak in Village People lyrics. Also, right next to your first safe house, there does appear to be a gay bar named Fellas. Get it? The rear entrance? That means butt stuff. There's also a fudge packing joke. Now, this might not make a lot of sense to, say, Gen Z viewers of this channel, but you see, back in the 1980s and 1990s, the straights thought it would be an amazing zinger to say gay men packed fudge because of butt stuff. And by fudge, they mean shit. Do you get it? And in this game, and please pause the video if you're going to have problems due to the amount of laughing you're doing, there's a company named Fudge that packs things. In conclusion, fudge is a terrible name for a food. As for bear spotting, there's pretty much only Tony in this game, well, and El Burro, who you never see, but does brag about the size of his junk in that one mission where you pick up pornography for him.
A gang of no-goods has threatened to remove my starring member if I don't pay them a cut.
And he does show up in loading screens. When it comes to the PlayStation 2 original versus the Xbox, there's pros and cons for each format. The PS2 version wasn't a graphical showstopper when it was released. Compared with what was coming out in 2001, you could definitely point to other games with much better levels of graphical detail and realism to their cities. Project Gotham Racing 1 and Shenmue both come to mind as examples of city rendering at its best. But I wouldn't call Grand Theft Auto 3 on PS2 ugly either. There's a surprising amount of work into small details, from the animation of pulling people out of their cars, to the varying times of day and weather effects. There's a cohesive sense of style to the character models, even when their hand-drawn looking faces and chunky fist glory, the design of cars, and the simple architecture of the city. Though there are loading points between each island, it still feels like one big city, and one this size is genuinely impressive for PS2 era hardware. Sure, Vice City would add a whole lot more visual effects and filters to it, and San Andreas even more so. And surprisingly, by the time San Andreas and the Stories games came out on PS2, they were also running a heck of a lot better. Still, this really was a hit out of the park for developers still cutting their teeth on 3D engines. Meanwhile, the Xbox version, released in 2003, has some advantages over the PS2 version. For one thing, brake and accelerator map to the triggers, which just feels more natural to play. Each vehicle is coated with real-time reflections of the environment around it, something that works well on the CRTs of the era, but the gamma levels just look kind of funky on most flat-panel LCD TVs now. I bet it looks totally fine on an OLED though. Some vehicles like these pickup trucks especially look kind of coated in Vaseline or something on lower contrast displays. Sadly, the right stick still only brings up side views or first-person view from the character, not particularly useful unless you're doing a drive-by. It also has a better frame rate and, according to Digital Foundry, sharper textures, though I haven't noticed much of a difference in my gaming on the texture front. I haven't spent any time analyzing them side by side. But due to the smoother frame rate and somewhat better controls, this was the version of choice for me for my full playthrough, and I don't regret it. Plus, there's that old Xbox ability to seamlessly integrate custom soundtracks into the game. That just wouldn't happen now with all your DMCAs and other Metallica-related legislation. Using the Xbox dashboard, you could rip CDs and create playlists of music, like one per album or a whole long mix of your favorites. And this gets incorporated to the radio interface of the vehicles in GTA 3, allowing you to cycle through your playlists and songs. Obviously, this makes the game much better. The original release of Grand Theft Auto 3 on PC is its own beast. While delisted from online stores, you can still buy the original trilogy of PC ports direct from Rockstar, even if it doesn't show up on their launcher store. As of the publication of this video, you can still Google Grand Theft Auto Original Trilogy and buy direct through the Rockstar website, and the game will still work without any patching, though you're on your own trying to figure out controller support. Personally, I don't think that running in HD or higher does the game any favors. The model seams and joints clearly show, giving this a weirdly PlayStation 1 era look to it that is obfuscated by the low resolution of the game on Xbox and PlayStation 2. The PC release also has the overly shiny look of the Xbox version that looks a bit off on LCD panels, but lacks its real-time reflections. The presentation of HD resolution shows the good and bad of the city texturing and draw distances, in some ways making the game look older than it is. On the other hand, it's a super smooth 60 frames per second, making moving around the map even better. As I've said before, the free aim controls on all weapons with mouse do help a lot. The sniper mission with 8-Ball and the cartel boat was a breeze. Finally, there's the Definitive Edition. This was released as part of the Definitive Edition trilogy by Grove Street Games in 2021. Well, folks hated it. It is a port of the current mobile phone versions of the games, and has completely rebuilt the combat and visuals, also now running on the Unreal Engine with a much more modern suite of rendering and lighting effects. Textures were mostly converted to high-definition versions via AI upscaling, with questionable results. In the almost 3 years since its release, the text errors have been tackled inconsistently. But stuff like this fresh mozzarella and pasta being converted into Irish mozzarella and pasta, with a change from custom painted, or maybe photographed in real life, awnings to just the cheapest looking font and artwork ever is kind of insulting to include in such a noteworthy game. Tell me more about these bear boxes though. With all the patches as up to August 2024, it's definitely playable. And while I do wish that the classic look and lighting was an option, weirdly, it is an option on the Netflix downloadable version of the trilogy on phones for all 3 games. was nowhere near as reliant on the PlayStation 2 graphical effects as either Vice City or San Andreas, both of which could have screen-filling filters and moody color grading. Please enjoy me trying to play this game with a touchscreen on a Samsung Fold 4 compared with the Series X version. Which look do you prefer?
More tolerable, less annoying, a better variety of weird noises between songs. The station your parents warned you about. More commercials, fewer songs.
Everything here on Series X is very sharp and very neutral. That's not entirely a bad thing. I love the highly reflective and crisp HD look to the game. Kind of reminds me of jacking up the effects and detail in Midtown Madness 1 when I got a beefier PC, and the lighting effects can be great. It has, however, sadly axed the retro GTA 1 and 2 top-down mode, meaning that firefights are going to be tougher. On the plus side, all weapons now have a free aim mode, which does help making long-range shooting with any firearm much easier. Vehicles don't feel quite as loose as on PS2 or Xbox, and sadly the parking brake is back to RB, which is just my least favorite place for it. But you can still have some slidey fun. I remember running into an angry, screaming YouTube guy reviewing the game who claimed that the trilogy was terrible because the characters looked too cartoonish, which, well, they always have? Personally, I've always interpreted the characters as being sort of polygon renders of the character art you see in the loading screens. That kind of English comic book style. Are the new models an improvement? They don't bug me, but let me know in the comments how you feel about the revised look. There are quality of life improvements too, though I have seen reviewers calling this a dumbing down of the game for babies. I don't know if I'd go that far. Now, you have a console-style weapon wheel on the controller, and missions have, holy crap, checkpoints. Don't get too excited, it'll bring you all the way back to the quest giver, but that's something. You keep your weapons, armor, and vehicle. On the other hand, you don't get to keep anything you earned in mission, including hidden packages or money from killing bad guys. So you may not always want to choose to restart, instead maybe continuing from the hospital or prison if you fail, so you can keep your progress that you may have made during a failed attempt. Auto-saving after a successful mission is a godsend, however. Can you go back? Are these games still fun? Early 3D open-world games get a lot of flack, but I do think there's a magnificent amount of creativity and great design in how they built Liberty City. Even if you played through this back in the 2000s, 2 decades of iteration and streamlining controls, movement, driving, and shooting mean that old and new players wanting to go back and explore the series' roots will have to get used to a bit of jank no matter which version they choose. So which one should you play? I think that depends on what you're looking for. Retro gamers looking for a nostalgic kick will enjoy either console version, whether they want the classic look of the PlayStation with its streaky trails and bespoke color gradients, or the ultra shiny and smooth Xbox release. Personally, I'd go for the Xbox version just for the custom soundtrack and improved controls, but either is great. And for anyone wanting to play Grand Theft Auto 3 for the first time, I'm going to speak heresy and say that the Definitive Edition is the way to go if you want to play with a controller, or if you want to see the original with a new coat of graphical paint and like the Unreal Engine 4 look. But if you're a mouse and keyboard player, consider grabbing the PC Original trilogy instead. All that's left now is for me to apply mathematics to my analysis of the game, much in the style of Jeff Gerstmann and his science. Graphics, 3 Koobs. No matter what you play this on, Grand Theft Auto 3 is never a visual showstopper. It has a good sense of style and scope, but its simple character models, cars, and city were not pushing any visual boundaries. It's fine, but not why the game is a classic. Story, 4 Koobs. Surprisingly good after all these years. It's simple, but the performances are all around good and well directed, and there's some clever threading of its characters and plot points subtly through each mission, right from the start. The surrounding humor can be hit or miss, but Chatterbox FM, with Laszlo and his insane callers, holds up great. Still, the story is something they go deeper into in later titles, with voiced and developed protagonists, and ever-expanding scripts and scope. Open World, 5 Koobs. Now this is what the game does best. So far, this is the best open world we've seen on KOW, with the best use of its limited space and incredible design. Finding hidden packages is a delight. Secret missions unlocking at phone booths are fun. There's the rampages, the unique jumps, the car challenges. From the start, Rockstar nailed this. On foot, 3 Koobs. It's fine. There's a pleasing sense of control on foot, walking around feels natural, and the game doesn't give you too many confined areas to get hung up on. On the other hand, combat can be pretty dire when enemies get too close to you, and some of the platforming challenges can be a little frustrating. Driving, 4 Koobs. Surprisingly, out of the gate, DMA and Rockstar got this right, and it's better than I remember. Hitting the jumps is satisfying, as is plowing into cars with a fire truck. You're never fighting the controls in car, and that's what makes a good driving experience. Final score, 19 out of 25. Uh-oh. This is the first cow tie. I'm going to rank GTA 3 slightly above Mercenaries. This is my personal tilt. I love Mercenaries, but GTA 3 just does so much right out of the gate. Still, GTA 3 doesn't knock Saints Row the Third out of first place, but this first 3D effort manages to exceed The Getaway and Driv 3R. Thanks for watching this video all the way through to the end. Please tell your friends, and give this video a big old click on the like button. Subscribe if you want more Koobert Opens Worlds, Bears and Games, racing game reviews, queer game history, and more. If you think you'd like to hear me talk about RPGs and other such story-heavy games, tell your podcast app to download the Square Roots podcast. You can hear me, Vanessa, Matt, and Jim play through your favorite games a chunk at a time, like a book club. We've finished over 60 games now. Goodbye, and I love you. Platonically.
Alright, hello, you are on Chatterbox.
Hello, Laszlo. I'm a first-time caller. I recently moved to Liberty City from Hampshire in England.
Oh, really? How do you like it? I mean, is it hard to get used to the language? You speak English pretty good.
Oh, thank you, Laszlo. Yes, I do like it here. There's one thing, though, that's very different, rather worrying. When I was a boy in England, I had a nanny. She was very strict, Laszlo.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's excellent child care here in America, you know.
Well, I'm sure. But the thing is, Laszlo, when I was a naughty boy, I would get spanked. Nanny would spank me when I was naughty. And now Freddy needs Nanny, because when Freddy's naughty, he needs to get spanked.
Well, there's some child psychologists who probably say that spanking can be harmful to a child's emotional development.
Absolute rot, Laszlo. It's lovely. Freddy needs a nanny. He needs a nanny, Laszlo, because Freddy's been a very naughty boy.
How old is your son?
Excuse me?
How old is your son?
I don't have children. I can't stand the little brat. But Freddy needs a nanny.
All right, that's enough.
Oh.